Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of my video blog series. I'm your host, Nick Renard, and today we are going to be talking about AdWords tablet and other device bid adjustments in, mainly Google AdWords, but we're going to be doing a little bit of Google Analytics today for analyzing our data. So let's go ahead and get started. So, for a long time, we've been able to make bid adjustments on mobile devices. So if we wanted, let's say that we are a company that is interested in getting people to download an app, we would obviously be more focused on mobile in that case than we would be on desktop. There are also cases where the inverse is true, where maybe users who are converting from a desktop are significantly more likely than someone converting from a mobile. Usually mobile users are more likely to convert on kind of impulse buying situations. So if you're buying like apparel or something like that, that's easy to, buy like a $35 pair or a piece of clothing and people will do that very quickly on their phone, whereas on a desktop you'll usually see conversions that take kind of longer to do. So if people looking for a home or maybe looking for a lawyer, an insurance company, something that's a little more long term, has a longer sales cycle, maybe people looking for a certain type of software, something like that, you'll see a lot of those coming through desktop. So yeah, it's going to be very industry dependent. I don't want to say that like one is more likely to do something than another, because it's obviously a case by case basis and every industry is different. But the point is that we can bid more or less aggressively on mobile devices depending on the performance. So if mobile does well, we can bid up, and if it does poorly, we can bid down. Pretty simple. Now, for the longest time, AdWords has always merged desktop. They always had tablet as a separate category, but you were never actually able to add a bid modifier for tablet. But now, finally, they came out with a bid modifier for tablet. So now what we can do is we can analyze the traffic that's coming from tablet devices, and if it's good, we can bid up for those devices, and if it's bad, we can bid down for them. Uh, Honestly, I'm surprised that they didn't come out with this change sooner, but I guess that's irrelevant because it's out now, so yay. All right, so like I mentioned before, desktop tablet used to both be merged. So the question you have to ask yourself is, first off, is your website set up for a responsive design? A responsive design means that the dimensions of your website will adjust based on what device people are coming from. If your website is not set up for responsive design, then people coming to your website on a mobile device, it's going to be very zoomed in on like the top left corner, and it's going to be hard for people to navigate your site. Uh, just kind of putting it bluntly, if your website is not set up for responsive design, you are very, very outdated. This is 2016. If you want to be competing in online marketing against your customers, or I'm sorry, against your competitors, and you don't have responsive design, it's just not going to happen. You need to have it set up. Uh, so yeah, but let's say you aren't set up for responsive design. What my recommendation would be, and let's say you only care about desktop traffic and you want to ignore mobile, I highly recommend you put a minus 100% bid modifier on tablet, so that way you're bidding 0 for tablet devices and also for mobile. Again, you should be set up for it, but if you're not, that's kind of the next step that you'll have to do here. So what I want to do with you today is I first want to show you how we analyze the performance of tablet devices, and we're going to do that in Google Analytics. And I'm also going to show you how to make the bid adjustments in your AdWords campaigns in Google AdWords. So we're not going to do a ton of slides today. We're actually just going to jump in to Analytics here. So here's the home screen of Analytics. And this is actually very simple. Now, the first thing that we're going to want to do is you want to consider your date range. If we're looking at a small date range, Analytics is going to default to the last 30 days. But what I would be concerned with if I were trying to analyze if tablet is good or bad over a period of time, we want to take into consideration statistical significance. A 30-day period is not necessarily going to be statistically significant, or at least it won't be as significant as I keep saying significant, as a significantly longer date range. Like in this case, it's September now. So I think a really good date range to be analyzing would be all of 2016. So let's go from January 1st to September 8th, and then we get a much larger quantity of data here. And now when we're analyzing this data, we know that this is the performance over a very long period of time, and not necessarily just like last month where we could have run into, maybe it was a good season or a bad season, some kind of outlier, and maybe if we were to make an adjustment based on just that data, it wouldn't be as accurate as it could be. So after you set your date range, the next thing you want to do is set a segment. In this case, I'm actually just going to analyze all users, which I think is fine because that's giving you an idea of what everybody does from any given device. But let's say you have a pretty popular website and it has a lot of traffic. This example here doesn't have a ton of traffic, but let's say it does have a ton of traffic. What you can do is you can add a segment to narrow it down to maybe only the users that are coming from paid traffic, so Google AdWords, maybe Bing ads, or whatever. You could segment organic. You could take certain things out. Yeah, I mean that's just the point of segments, is it allows you to zoom in on the data that you are interested in. Again, the same lecture about statistical significance comes into play. If you narrow it down too much and you're looking at too small of a pool of data, just be careful on how many users you're looking at. Make sure you have a good chunk of users to look at before you make a decision on how you're going to increase or decrease bids. For this example, I'm just going to leave it as all users. So where do we find, or how do we analyze the performance of tablet? Under audience here, there is a drop-down box called mobile. Go ahead and click that, and then click overview. And this has actually always been here in analytics, but we've just never been able to make adjustments on tablet. We've always just done it on mobile. So if we scroll down here, I'm going to go to all goals here. You want to make sure that you set the conversions that you're interested in. So let's say you're trying to get like a trial download, or you can see in this case like an ebook or a webinar registration, etc. Contact us form. The main thing that I'm going to be interested in with this data here is conversion rate. This is going to be true for pretty much any client. There's a bunch of cute statistics here, like bounce rate, for example. You could say the bounce rate on mobile is higher than desktop, so that makes mobile better. But the truth is something like bounce rate or time on site or average session duration or pages per session, those things don't actually equate to dollars, whereas the conversions that you set up, like webinar registrations, those are actually leads that you can follow up with. So that's actually going to turn into revenue for your company, which is why we use that data as, our KPI in this case. So we can see it broken up into here's desktop traffic, here's mobile traffic, and here's tablet traffic. Now, not surprising that desktop is the dominant one. That's generally going to be the case. There's actually a very small quantity of tablet traffic, and then a little bit of mobile as well. So if we look at the conversion rates, you can see the conversion rate for desktop is 14%. The conversion rate for tablet is about half that, 7.5%, and mobile is even lower than that, 5%. So in this kind of case, what I would do is I would, and I'll show you this in a second here, I would want to reduce my bids on mobile and tablet. It's going to reduce the cost per click on those, and what we want to do is if mobile and tablet have significantly lower conversion rates, we don't want to be paying as much per click because it's just not as profitable as desktop. We would much rather allocate our bids towards desktop so that we can be funneling our funds towards our highest converting campaigns, which is pretty straightforward. Yes, it's going to lower your traffic on mobile and tablet, but that's a good thing because, again, if the conversion rates are lower, we want to keep the dollars that our company is making in mind. We're going to be making more money on desktop, so we want to funnel our funds there. So Let's say in this case, tablet we want to reduce bids by 40%, and mobile we want to reduce bids by 50% because mobile's a little bit worse. What we would do next is go over to AdWords. And right now, I don't think you can do this in the AdWords editor. I poked around there in there a little bit, and I haven't seen it yet, but I might have just missed it. If they haven't added it yet, I'm sure it's going to come in one of their updates coming up. But you can do it through the browser interface, which is what we're going to do here. So what we do is you have to click on any campaign. You're going to have to do this for every campaign that you have. So if you have 30 campaigns, you're going to have to do this for 30 campaigns. And, maybe if it's in the editor, it'll be a little simpler. But honestly, it isn't that hard to do here either. So you'll click on your campaign. So let's say this remarketing campaign is the one that we want to adjust for. Go to Settings, this tab right here, and then go to Devices. Now, if we scroll down, this computer, which is the equivalent of desktop, and tablets used to be merged together. Now you can see that they're broken up. Mobile still has its own thing. So what we can do is we just click on these little dashed lines here, and we tell it to increase or decrease the bids by a certain amount. So in this case, we're going to decrease bids by 50%. And then tablets, we want to decrease bids by 40%. Now we could do the inverse of that. Let's say tablets performed extremely well. Like tablets the data was turned around. We could do the inverse of that and increase by 40%. You can really do whatever you want here. With computers, you can do the same thing. We obviously saw that computers had more than double the conversion rate of some of our other devices. So maybe we want to add a little bit here and increase our bids by a certain amount as well. That's going to be a judgment call for you. However you want to make these adjustments is really up to you. You'll just kind of have to, again, it's going to be specific to your industry, your performance, your quality scores. Everything's going to be specific to you. So it is going to be a judgment call. But if you analyze the data, you have a large period of time that has statistical significance. You see that one is performing better or worse than another. And then you try adding a bid modifier here. I can assure you that that is going to have a positive effect on your campaign. Now, how large of an effect is a different question entirely, but you'll just kind of have to test and find out. So yeah, that's kind of the overview of the new tablet bid adjustments that we can do in AdWords. It's such an easy thing to check in on. I highly recommend that you go into analytics, see what your tablet, mobile, desktop performance looks like, and then make those bid adjustments in AdWords. And yeah, it should increase your conversion rates and make you a little more efficient with your money in your campaigns. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I will plan on seeing you guys in my next video blog.